for tuning in to the Illuminations Podcast. We love having you here. It is our mission to be a beacon of light on your journey towards conscious and mindful living. In our weekly episode, we bring you inspiring change makers in the field of spirituality, healing, personal growth, and wellness who share their insight and expertise so you can navigate your way to a happier, healthier, and more purposeful life.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Illuminations Podcast. I'm your host, Nia. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, sound therapist, and yoga teacher here at Illuminations. So I welcome you all back for another episode with another speaker. And today I have a very exciting topic, which is actually quite very dear to my heart, and it's all about emotional intelligence. And not just emotional intelligence, but how exactly it affects the success in our life. So the topic of the day is why your emotional intelligence holds the key to your success in life. And to enlighten us about this very topic, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Nada. She is a Reiki master, teacher, and NLP and emotional intelligence master coach and trainer, and also a lawyer by profession. Look at that. So welcome to the show, Nada. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Nia, for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here with you today to discuss also that amazing topic that is so dear to my heart as well, which is all about how to be intelligent with our emotions and how can that be actually a success point for us in our personal and professional lives.
Absolutely. And this would go for anyone working not just in the wellness world, but just anybody who's listening, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are an employee, and whoever you are.
Definitely.
So let's just dive right in, shall we? So let's start with the basics. What exactly is emotional intelligence?
Well, if you read books, you would have many definitions of what is emotional intelligence. I would like to summarize it by saying it's, let's say, a different way of being smart. So we all know about the IQ, the intellectual quotient. Like this guy has great IQ, you know. And
Einstein.
Einstein. And this IQ is what was always needed for us to, you know, succeed in school, in university, etc. Then people became aware of the importance of actually having EQ, which is the emotional quotient, which is basically how can we be intelligent with our emotions. So it is actually been proven that even if someone has great IQ, the key of success is to add to that IQ your EQ. And here's the question, what does that mean? What is EQ and what is emotional intelligence? So that concept was created and came to light back in the 80s, thanks to the works of a psychologist called Peter Salovey and his student called John Mayers. And they actually came to know and realize that if you are intelligent with your emotions, you actually can succeed in life. Then Daniel Goleman came and took the works of those two psychologists and wrote a book in 1993 about emotional intelligence. And this is where the definition of emotional intelligence was actually codified, put in that book. And it is basically how to be intelligent with your emotions. And it consists of 4 pillars. So emotional intelligence is a concept that consists of 4 pillars, according to Daniel Goleman and to our current definition of emotional intelligence. So it's all about self-awareness. So how to be aware of your emotions, how to identify those emotions. So once you are able to identify your emotions, then the second pillar will be self-management. So how to manage those emotions. So now I identified them, I'm aware of those emotions. The second pillar would be how to manage my emotions, how to be able to run my emotions rather than be run by the emotions. All right, we'll go into details later. And then the third pillar would be, once I am self-aware of my emotions, once I am managing my emotions, then I will have social awareness, meaning I will be able to identify the emotions of others, whether I'm a healer or I'm a therapist or I'm a leader or I'm a person working with people. I will be able to identify the emotions of others, and I will be able to have empathy. And to basically step into the shoes of others and without taking on their emotions. And the fourth pillar would be relationship management, which means that once I'm aware of my emotions, once I can manage my emotions, once I'm aware of the emotions of the people around me and I can manage their emotions, then I will create a better relationship with myself and with others so that I can communicate with them better. There's a proper connection between us, and then this leads us and the people we're coaching or the people we're working with to create greater success and happiness in our lives.
So it's almost like a little dance that you do
It
with different people that you meet on a daily basis, right?
It is.
So on the other side, or the flip side of it, what exactly is emotional unintelligence?
Exactly. So being emotionally unintelligent is basically having one of, as I would like to say, one of those three let's say challenges or syndromes, we call them. The first one is called a serious and bitter syndrome. You know?
Serious and bitter. Okay.
Serious and bitter. It's like some people might walk in life, you know, so serious. It's all about going to work, having the job done, you know, walking in life, just having no purpose but to, you know, get the money, get the job done, and that's it. So they walk in life with a lot of seriousness. You can see it in their physiological responses, you know. They don't want to express any emotions. They're just too serious and bitter about life. So
that's one.
That's the first one. The second, actually, syndrome is called the roller coaster syndrome.
Okay.
And that roller coaster syndrome is something that sometimes I feel that I have that syndrome. It's all about, you know, waking up in the morning and feeling like, yes, I'm in a great mood. And then I get stuck in traffic while going to work, and then I get angry. And then, you know, I go to work and I am so happy with my employees and or the people I work with. So I'm then again
So it's like
happy.
a fluctuating mood depending on your environment.
Yes, depending on an external factor that is taking you up and down, like you are taking a roller coaster. And then you have the denial syndrome, which is the third syndrome. Like, it's simply when someone says, I'm fine. You know, it's the idea of not feeling emotions or holding back or suppressing emotions. Like, why do I need to cry? No, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. So whereas deep inside, this person would be actually suffering from whatever type of, challenges in his life, but he wouldn't want to express such emotions. Or he would be either fighting them, saying, I don't want to be angry, I don't want to cry, I don't want to feel emotions. So it's the idea of not feeling emotions.
Well, so this is when typically you see people who are maybe going through depression or maybe...
or into addiction or
other coping mechanisms, I'd imagine, right?
Correct.
So just to summarize, you have the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
1 being self-awareness. 2nd, self-management. 3rd, social awareness. And 4th, relationship management.
Yes.
And then you have the 3 emotional unintelligence, which is serious and bitter, the roller coaster, and the denial syndrome.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So how can people identify their emotional unintelligence, and how can they flip it?
Yes. So the idea is that our brain is composed of 2 kind of like, in a simplistic way, like you have what we call the limbic brain, which is basically this area here, where our emotions are stored. And it's our survival instinct. You know, it's like when there's an external situation or a threat, we would want to go like a lion, like, you know, so we either react or we fight or we run away. So it's the flight and fight response. And then we have what is so-called the neocortex brain, which is this part of the brain, which is in charge actually of language, which actually also differentiates us from animals. So what we have and animals don't is that neocortex brain. It's the capability and ability to be able to choose when to feel what type of emotion. And then once we are taken by our limbic brain, how to actually stop that limbic brain response by actually stepping out of whatever emotion we would be feeling. So now it's all about practicing. And like when you go to the gym, for example, you want to train your muscles. It takes time. For to be emotionally intelligent is basically, you said you are a yoga instructor, is to basically be able to have and do a yoga to your emotions. And there's an amazing technique which is called emotion yoga, which consists on us being able to, the moment we notice that we are taken by whatever emotion that is unresourceful, to basically step in or out of such emotion. And it's very simple. So you could do it with me. So let's say you're taken by anger and you just notice. How do you notice that you have an emotion? You notice you have an emotion once you start having a physiological response in the body. For example, if you're angry, some people, I might experience the heart is like racing.
Or you clench your jaw, or your face goes red.
Exactly. So those are factual, physiological, we call them responses that you become aware of. And the idea is to take your right hand, the moment you notice that your heart is racing and you have all those physiological responses, is to take your right hand and to tap your left shoulder and say, oh, in a curious way, oh, I noticed, Nia, I noticed I'm getting angry. And I have the choice to actually use my neocortex and to say, okay, I have the choice to stop being taken by my emotion. And the idea of like pausing, taking a few deep breaths, and tapping and saying, I notice, automatically this 1 second where you're tapping, it calms down the brain and it puts you in a state of, calmness, where you would then decide to say, okay, I have the choice either to react and to burst and to leak my unresourceful behavior on others, or to say, okay, I actually don't want to do that and I want to actually feel another emotion instead. So then it's about the I notice technique that would then help you stop that, racing of the limbic brain, that shooting of adrenals, that would then stop that and put you in a state where you have the choice to, step out of that emotion that you're feeling and step into another emotion that you would want to feel instead. For example, I get frustrated sometimes when I have a task to prepare and, I get stressed about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm stressed. So instead of me being stressed, the moment I start feeling my heart is racing, because when I'm stressed, also my heart races, and I start feeling like some butterflies in my stomach. So I'm like, okay, Nada, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Any emotion has a positive message. This is another tool. So to say to yourself, okay, I noticed I started feeling, that pain in the stomach, or, that frustration inside of me in my body. So I notice it. I identify that I am frustrated. Then I say to myself, what is this frustration trying to tell me? Because every emotion holds a positive message. And I would say, okay, this frustration is good for me to feel it, so that I am aware of it, so that I can manage it. And how would I manage it? I would actually say, what is the positive intention? The positive intention is for me to be prepared. It's telling me now that you got to be prepared. You cannot leave your tasks till the last minute. So for me, mainly, the message would be, Nada, you have to be prepared ahead of time. And once I know that positive message of the emotion, instead of fighting it and saying, I don't want to be stressed, because once you fight it, it explodes. So what I do is I create friendship with this emotion by asking myself, what is this positive message that the emotion is trying to tell me? And once I identify that positive message, I then find new ways. In that case, I would put a plan. Today I will do that tomorrow that, and that, and that, until I reach, let's say, the end of my project, where all the tasks, the mini tasks, are done to accomplish the project.
So what I'm hearing is you're essentially encouraging people to take accountability for what they're feeling and not going to victimhood. Because I imagine anytime you feel any form of negative emotion, the first thing you want to do is either, like you said, fight or flight. So either go on full anger, rage mode and confront, or run away. And both will have certain sensations in the body, and your body will store it and you will feel it.
Correct.
But the way you handle it is through completely acknowledging it and making or being aware that you have a choice to do something about it.
Correct. Because otherwise you would be going into the emotional unintelligent syndromes, to respond to your question earlier, whereby you will either be taken, in that case, you would be taken into the roller coaster kind of a syndrome. So the idea, as you said, is to hold yourself responsible. There's this arrow of responsibility that we always try to blame on external factors or on others. I am angry because he told me this. I am angry because, of COVID. I am feeling afraid because... So we tend to blame external...
And be the victim.
And be the victim, as you said. Yeah. So what we would want to do is to start actually accepting and feeling all types of emotions, and to have a different approach into saying it is not the emotion itself that is not resourceful. It is our attitude towards that emotion. What are we doing? What are we doing towards that emotion?
So that's where the self-awareness comes in.
Exactly. And the practical tool of self-awareness is to do that technique of emotion yoga. So you identify your emotions by using the I notice technique. I notice. And how do you notice? Once
by
you have
tapping
those,
your shoulder.
Yes, and by having those physiological responses, and you say it in a curious way. Oh my God, now that I notice now that I'm gonna burst, or I'm gonna be acting unresourcefully. I notice it. I have a choice, as you said, and I said, to basically step out of it.
Yeah.
Now, and then to ask myself, what is the positive message that this emotion is trying to tell me?
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, once I find what's that positive message, etc., and I make friendship with this emotion rather than fighting it or holding it back, I would want to also practice something called emotion yoga, which is me wanting to feel, accept, and literally be happy to be angry and have it in the body so that I can release it. So this is about emotion yoga, meaning doing a yoga to my emotions and going consciously into any type of emotion, so that you have awareness that next time I am angry, okay, so I am stepping in to anger mode. So I put on the floor, let's say, and you could do it anywhere. You imagine there's like a circle called anger on the floor.
Yeah.
And you step consciously, knowing that you're stepping into this anger emotion, and you would step into it, you will live it. I am angry, and you let it out, and then you try to feel, you close your eyes and you try to feel, where is this anger in the body? How am I feeling it? And then you feel it, and then you have a choice to step out of it. So you would consciously, once you feel it in the body, creatively step out of it into whatever other emotion you would want to feel instead. Let's say I would want to feel calm and focused. So I would imagine another circle on the floor, which is called calm and focused. And I will step into it and I will imagine, how is it when I am calm? And I would walk and say, I'm calm and focused. And I would feel that calmness and the idea of being focused in the body. And how is it? And I will note, okay, when Nada is calm and focused, it is in the heart area. So next time in the future, I would want to access this calm state, and I would know how to, because I know that it is in the body, embodied in my body, and I feel it in the heart, and I connect with whatever color I would want to connect or whatever sound, and I simply can access in and out any emotion consciously. And this is how you could manage the emotions.
So that's the second pillar, which is emotional management.
Yes.
And how does that now translate to how you interact with people around you. Because just to rewind a little bit, I loved how you, for the third pillar, you spoke about having empathy. But I feel like a lot of people find it very hard to differentiate between empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
So how can you find the difference? What is being empathetic like, and what is being sympathetic like?
Okay, so basically, people think that, I was actually someone who would have sympathy, meaning I would be able to connect with others and to take on, in my opinion, their emotions. So if someone is angry, I would be angry. So I would think, and some people might think like, if you want to be empathetic, you would have to take on the emotions of others.
But that's not true.
But that's not true. Like, it's always good to step into the shoes of others, meaning to try to see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and feel with their hands whatever they're feeling, hearing, or seeing, only to know how you could help them. But then to be able to identify that this is their feelings and their emotions, and you have different ones. So it's again the idea of stepping into their feelings to see what they're feeling and stepping out. This is having empathy.
So having that clear separation.
Yes. And and noticing and always paying attention that the idea is not to take on their emotions, but rather to feel with them whatever they're feeling, but then the ability to also using emotion yoga to step actually out of whatever they're feeling, so that you are in a place of analysis and focus, where you could basically take the right decision for your team or for your coachee or for whomever you are helping.
Because you're not reacting, you're responding.
Exactly.
It's not coming from a place of deep-rooted emotion, right?
Yes.
So when people, you hear a lot in this wellness world, when say like, oh, I'm an empath. It's not really a good thing then, would you say?
Yes, it's not a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing, provided that you have the ability to separate yourself, and using your neocortex brain and the choice of actually having the ability to step out of the emotion that you would have felt you would have felt because you would have, went into whatever the person you are helping is feeling.
So this makes so much sense now, because it all starts with being totally aware about ourselves and our emotions, so that we can finally relate to other people. And from that, we can then create a society or a relationship or a bond that is conducive for the environment. So on that note, what tips do you have for, let's say, people in the corporate world, let's say employer and employee relationships, or therapist and client? Like, how can you incorporate emotional intelligence so that the environment is a lot more conducive?
Yes, I would before I tap into that, Nia, the last pillar is actually relationship management. So that is basically an answer to what you're saying, is that once I, as an employer or as a leader, am capable of identifying whatever emotions I am going through at work, or as a coach, I am capable of identifying what I'm feeling before I meet with my coachee, or the leader before the leader meets or has meetings with the employees, to be aware and identify whatever I am feeling as a leader or as a coach or as a therapist, whatever I am feeling, and to be able not to leak whatever unresourceful behavior or emotion I would be feeling on my coachee, or on, if I'm a leader, on my employees. And then being able to manage my emotions so that I am actually in a state of, in a productive state where I could actually make good decisions for myself, for my team, for my coaches, etc. And then, yes, also to have empathy, meaning to be able to, if I am a coach, to be able to understand the feelings of my coachee or the issues that my coachee is going through, but then only to be able to step out and to basically come from a space of choice and of reasoning, where I would be able to set a direction to my client or to my employees, and for the interest actually of the best interest of my client, let's say, or if I'm in a corporate world, for the best interest of the company.
Yeah.
And also, once I am able to identify my emotions, manage my emotions as a leader or as a coach, and then be able to understand also and identify the effect of my emotions on my team, and I understand and identify and have empathy towards my clients, I can then have a better relationship with myself, meaning whatever inner stories and inner pictures. What are emotions? Emotions are inner stories and inner pictures that I create, which then gives me a physiological response, which is the emotion. So once I am able to listen to my inner dialogue and to my inner movies that I'm creating, and which are basically putting me in an emotional state, I can then shift the stories and the pictures and the movies that I'm creating. If I'm saying, I cannot do this, I will not be able to be successful as a coach, I cannot be a good leader, etc. So all those inner stories, once I'm aware of them by noticing, as I said, this inner dialogue and inner stories, and then shift them, even if I don't believe it at that moment, but like keep on telling myself and my brain, I can do it, I will do it, and I can, you know? The story that you tell yourself then affects your brain, and it puts you in a resourceful emotion, which then creates a better relationship. You create a better relationship with yourself, and once you have that good relationship with yourself, because you're empowering yourself, you are in a better state to communicate more successfully as a leader or as a coach with your employees, with your clients, with your coaches, etc.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then in emotional intelligence also, the tool for success is, as we say, the communication excellence. So there are some techniques that we learn which are called the techniques to build communication excellence. And I would give a quick technique. So that is all about creating rapport. Because all we want to do, whether we are a coach with our coachee, we want to have a good connection with that person. So we want to create rapport, meaning a good connection.
Yeah.
If we are a leader working with our upper management or with our team, we want to have, you know, this dance, as you said, this nice kind of relationship. And in order to do that, there is a very useful technique of communication excellence, which is called the hamburger technique. So even if it's a vegetarian burger or a normal burger, since the trend is for people to be veggies these days. So the idea is to, as a hamburger, you have like the first bun, which is basically the validation. So if I want to come, you are my coachee, let's say, or you are, let's say, my employee, and I am the leader, let's say, of the company, of my department, and I want to convey a message to you. So being emotionally intelligent is actually knowing how to communicate a message. Instead of telling you up front, you're not doing a good job, the sales are decreasing, etc. So what I would want to do is use this hamburger technique by being aware of the first bread of the first bun, which is the validation. So I would say, Nia, you know, you have been here with us for such a long time. You're doing such an amazing job. So I validate you. So that then you tell me yes, you know, so that I get a yes response from you.
Yeah.
So then you are more open to listen to whatever I want to tell you.
Yeah.
So then the second part of the burger would be the lettuce or the for some of us, we don't like lettuce, we would put a tomato or an onion. So that would be the leading question.
Yeah.
So once I validate you as an employee or as a coachee or with whomever I'm talking, I'm validating the person in front of me, then this person is more receptive to hearing me. So then I would ask the leading question, which is the lettuce or the tomato, and I would say, may I ask your attention for something which is really important to me? What would you tell me?
Yes.
Yes,
of
exactly.
course.
So that's another yes that I get. Then I will use my meat, okay, or my pumpkin in a veggie burger or whatever. So I would then, once I get yes and yes, I build rapport. Then I give the challenging message, which is basically the burger, the meat of the burger, correct? So the meat. And I would say whatever message I want to say, but I would definitely not say, is it possible if you can come on time and you can do, I wouldn't be using that type of a voice, nor would I be using an aggressive voice. You have to come on. So I want to use a firm voice.
Yeah.
You know, like Nia, you know, lately I've been noticing that you are, let's say, not on time or your tasks are being delayed. We should stop that. You know, we should work together in order to make sure that we are meeting deadlines, etc. So you would understand the message, and then so that I don't get you say no, I would then the last part of the technique is the bun.
Yeah.
I would then say, I am sure and confident, Nia, that you are going to manage your tasks on time, and I am confident you're going to do that, and together I'm here for you. Whatever, you know, help you would need, I'm there for you. So you would definitely then take the message in and do something about it. So this is an emotional intelligence communication, which is based upon, you know, building rapport, pacing the person you are talking with so that you get a yes and a yes. Then you use the challenging message that you want to convey, and you convey it in such a way where you would get another yes. And then you validate the person at the end, because part of why a lot of people leave leaders is because they're not validated. They don't receive any thank you for your work.
They're not
acknowledged.
Appreciated.
Exactly. So that technique is called the hamburger technique of appreciation and communication excellence. That is another tool, definitely, which would build, you know, a better communication with whomever you want to communicate in. And that is a good tool for leaders mainly in their communication with their teams or with their upper management. And even an employee can use it to communicate also with his leader.
100%.
You know?
And I love that. And I love that you share that. It's such an easy, simple tool, but so effective, because when you think about it, you are leaving the person with a good feeling, even though there may be some hard truths in the middle, like the burger in the middle.
Yes.
But in the end, you always remember how people made you feel, not what they said. So if you have the combination of it all, I can imagine how it's received well rather than with defense.
Correct. Because the idea is, you know, like sometimes we keep on telling ourselves as leaders, like, or professionals, like, I told him this and he didn't do it. He's not understanding, blah, 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 you know? And then you don't ask yourself that, as you said, coming back to what you were saying, I am responsible of the way I communicate. So if I communicate coming from a space of emotional unintelligence, like blaming or being taken by my emotions, like I'm angry and I communicate a message, so definitely it will not be received properly by whomever is the receiver of my message. So it's my responsibility, if I am a leader who wants to be emotionally intelligent, is to basically come from a space where I have identified what I'm feeling, manage what I'm feeling, and then building a proper rapport and a symphony with whomever I'm communicating the message to.
And you can see how this can inevitably lead to success, whether it's relationships, whether it's your career, whether it's with your clients, and so on. So unfortunately, we have come to the end of our episode, but before we leave, any last tips for our listeners?
Well, I would like to encourage our listeners by saying, hey, emotional intelligence is not like something like you gain in a second. It requires a continuous practice. I mean, I have been studying this for the past, say, 10 years, and still, definitely, we're human beings, and we always have the survival instinct of being taken by our emotions, and it's okay.
We're not Buddha.
You know, we're not gonna be, we're not gonna be reaching the state of enlightenment. You know, like, I wish one day we might, but the idea is to encourage our listeners by telling them that, you know, like anything in life, it needs practice. And the good thing is that emotional intelligence actually is something that can be taught. You know, it's not. Some people are born with it, but then it's also it can be taught. It needs actually practice. It needs actually you to be receiving feedback, like a leader would wanna if he's emotionally intelligent, receive feedback from his peers or the people he is, his team, so that he can also assess, okay, I received feedback. I was angry here. I was frustrated. Okay. So it's by receiving feedback, by being open to feedback, and by continuously practicing the I notice.
Yeah.
And, remembering that you have basically this tool, which is your neocortex, to say to yourself, I want to use my neocortex. I have a choice.
Yeah.
Because people who are addicted or who are actually into a same pattern of behavior, they think they don't have a choice. So we have a choice, everyone. We do have a choice to be resourceful, to be empowered, and
Thank you so much, Nada, for enlightening us today with so much insight about emotional intelligence, and it was an absolute pleasure. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in again to listen, to learn, and live light. So until our next episode with another speaker, take care and stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to have you tune in again next week as we discuss more engaging topics on relationships, health, career, self-care, and spirituality. If you'd like to help support this podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave us a rating and review. We'd be extremely grateful. To catch all the latest from us, you can also follow us on Instagram at Illuminations World or visit the Illuminations World YouTube channel for more inspiring content. See you again next week, and until then, live light.